Hi, have a nice lunch. I know it's the day after July 4th, and I know many of us are back at work, but I'm still in a July 4th mood, so I want to add a little bit more to the video that I did yesterday, which was outlining why I think America is so uniquely a free country. And I want to talk about the 4th of July itself. Obviously, it was the date on which the Declaration of Independence was signed, a declaration that was important because it was the first time there was ever a statement by a political body that embraced the notion that rights come from God, not from the state, and that all men are created equal, and that they're endowed by their creator with these rights, and that you govern with the consent of the governed. That had never been published before. It had just been written in John Locke's two treatises on civil government. It had never really made its way into a governing document, and it's terribly important. But, you know, you can get pretty mystical about the 4th of July. On the 50th anniversary of the 4th of July, on July 4th, 1826, 50 years after it was signed, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died, and their last words each referred to the other. Adams' last words were, "Jefferson still lives." And then, on 1863, on July 4th, was the end of the Battle of Gettysburg. It had ended on July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And at the same time, on July 4th, Vicksburg, the greatest fort in the Mississippi River, fell to Grant after a long siege of several months. Those two things, which stopped Lee's invasion of the North and completely broke the whole western part of the Confederacy and laid it open to the march through Georgia and South Carolina, doomed the Confederacy and saved the Union. And those also happened on July 4th. And on July 4th, well, not on July 4th, but celebrating the victory that ended on July 4th at the Battle of Gettysburg, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address. Now, I know all of us have had to read it, and many of us have had to memorize it, and sometimes you just go through it like that, and you don't really pay any attention to it. So I took the time the other day to really memorize the Gettysburg Address, and at the risk of getting a copyright infringement suit from Mr. Lincoln, I'd like to recite it for you, and really in a way that you can understand what it says. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we're engaged in a great civil war, testing whether this nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We've come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives that that nation might live. It's altogether fitting and proper that we do this, but in a larger sense, we can't dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow these grounds. Those who fought here, living and dead, have consecrated it far beyond our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but they can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, to dedicate ourselves to the great unfinished task that remains before us, and to take extra devotion, increased devotion, from these men who gave their final measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these honored dead shall not have died in vain, but that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Really important that we understand that that's what the Civil War was all about, and that is still our mission today, that this government of the people, by the people, and for the people does not perish from this earth. Thanks for listening, and we'll get back to regular politics tomorrow.